Here is a Sony model KVM1420D television. This is a nice traditional old analog TV. Gets a great picture. I really like this thing. But there is one inconvenience, and that is the fact that this is an old analog TV. No matter what I use this for, the first thing that I have to do is grab the remote control, which sometimes will be lost, to switch this to the AV input. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if I could make this TV just be stuck in the AV mode? You turn it on and it's an AV input mode straight away. And thankfully, there is a way, and it does not even require a very major modification. This modification involves the SCART connector. For all my American viewers who probably don't know this connector, this is what in Europe is commonly used in place of the set of 3 RCA jacks, yellow, red, and white, for composite video and stereo audio. The SCART jack is quite a versatile connector. It includes a composite video input, composite video output, stereo audio input, stereo audio output, an RGB video input, and then a variety of control lines. And the control lines is what we're interested in. Right here I have a pinout, which you won't be able to read because it's all in German. But on pin 8, there is a control line, and if you feed this with 12 volts DC, it will switch the TV to the AV input automatically. So the idea that I had was, if I can find 12 volts inside this TV, I can just make a little connection from those 12 volts to the SCART jack to pin 8, and voila, as soon as you turn the TV on, it's going to switch into the AV input mode. And I already took a look into the schematic, and yes, there is a 12 volt rail available in this TV's power supply. Now, before I start taking the TV apart, I'd like to test this idea. So I have my power supply adjusted to 12 volts and then connected to these test leads. And I'm going to try and poke around in the SCART jack with the probes, and we're going to see if this really is going to switch over to the AV input. As you can see, I have the channel 9 selected for this demonstration, and I'm now going to poke around in the SCART jack with my 12 volts, and hopefully the TV is going to switch over to the AV input. So 2, 4, 6, 8. And there we go. You can see the little arrow. Now it's gone, but that was the symbol for the AV input. If I take the 12 volts out again, it switches back to channel 9. And again, 12 volts connected, and the AV input shows up. Now, the real test is, if I turn this TV off, connect the 12 volts, and then turn it on again, is it already going to respond to that command to switch to the AV input? Let's find out about that. So, well, I'm going to turn off the TV. I got my 12 volts connected. Let's turn on the TV. See what happens. And we have the AV input. Brilliant. So now it's really only a question of permanently feeding pin 8 with 12 volts. We are now in the danger zone. I got the TV taken apart. Since we had this turned on just a few moments ago, there is a pretty good chance that there is still a high voltage charge somewhere in the system. So I'll be extremely, extremely careful when working on this. And in case you ever decide to open up your CRT type TV to do any kind of work in there, you want to be extremely careful too, because this is serious. This can kill you if you're not careful. So I took this to the air compressor. I blew out all the dust. There was a lot of dust in this TV. And I released the circuit board and pulled it out of the chassis. Nice toolless system. And then I found the 12-volt regulator, which you can see down there in the center of the picture, the heatsink. That's for the 12-volt regulator. It is, let's see, where is it? It's IC 802. It's a 78M12. Pin 1 is the voltage input, pin 3 is the ground, and pin 2 is the 12-volt regulated output. And I just measured between the ground on pin 3 and the SCART jack. As you can see, all the ground connections on the SCART jack are connected together using that trace running in between the two rows of pins. So I measured between the two to make sure that this is in fact the same ground, because there is a chance that this TV has different ground references. And of course you don't want to connect a voltage that's referenced to the one ground to a connection that's referenced to another ground, because that could cause problems. But there is 0 ohms between the ground on the SCART jack and the ground on the voltage regulator. So I can safely connect the 12-volt output to pin 8 of the SCART jack, which I've already marked. I also noticed there are quite a few bad solder joints on the SCART jack, so I can take care of those as well. Unfortunately, my phone is running out of battery life, so we'll have to be kind of brief from this point onwards. So let's take a look at the finished circuit. So the red wire connects to the output of the 12-volt regulator down in there, and then goes over to this switch that I have added right in there, and then the switch connects to pin 8 of the SCART jack. And that's it. Now originally I just wanted to connect this wire straight to the SCART jack, but then I thought, well, if I ever connect a proper SCART device to the TV, not just the regular SCART to composite video adapter cable, or if I ever do want to use the analog tuner inside this TV for whatever reason, it would be very inconvenient to just have the TV stuck on the AV input. So I made this modification switchable. So this position is AV input always on, and with this position the modification is off, and I can use the remote control to switch to the AV input, and I can use the internal tuner. And last but not least, let's test the modification. I have the switch turned to the on position, so if I now turn on the TV, we should see that the AV input has been activated. And it has, right there. If I now turn the switch to the off position, we're back at the tuner. Turn it back on. There is the AV input mode. Thanks for watching.